issue with petitions. All right, everybody, we're gonna get started. That was my. Morning to the Fire Prevention and Building Safety Commission for July 2nd, 2024. You got the speaker on.
I got it.
That?
Never mind. Yeah.
All right. Roll call. Yep, get that. All right, Commissioner Cook. Commissioner Chris. Mr. Davidson. Present. Commissioner Hyde.
Present.
Chairman. Present. Mr. Paterino.
Present.
Vice Chairman. Present. Mr. Porter.
Present.
Mr. Slaughter.
Present.
Mr. Wagner.
Present.
Mr. Zahner. All right, that's quorum. All right. Sir, then just tell us a little about yourself. Commission member.
Well, my name's Lane Slaughter, president of Winroy Construction. Been working there for 46 years. Our biggest customer is State of Indiana. And glad of service.
Yeah, there's a bit of an issue on the website. For some reason, they weren't loading, so I emailed them to you this morning. If you have had time to review them, I just hold them.
I've not had a chance to review it this morning, so that's been printed a copy off.
Yes.
Anyone else had a chance to look at it?
No.
Lance.
Okay, we can just hold them until next time. That's fine.
Make a motion to table.
Table.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there's no one virtual, so I don't think we need to vote.
No, we don't need a roll call.
Aye.
So IDHS reports and updates, variance determination report was uploaded to the website. Does anybody have any questions or concerns over the material presented there? Okay, hearing none, we can move forward. There were no state building commissioner interpretations published to the register before the meeting. Rulemaking updates, electrical code committee, you want me to talk about that one like we want to? Okay, electrical code committee continues working. Everybody has been assigned a chapter at this point to identify changes between the currently adopted code and the new version of the model code with amendments that should be presented at the next meeting. Hopefully we can get that together and get the fiscal impact started at that point. Building and fire code also continue meeting. We're still reviewing code chapters for that committee. Lift device update committee, last meeting didn't have quorum. We're going to hold an internal meeting to figure out what to do with that moving forward. And then Tyler, you want to talk about the vehicle? Right.
Really quick before you jump in.
Yeah.
Just to remind the public out there, both online and in person, please monitor the website for deadlines for code change proposal submittals and whatnot, and dates of meetings, and please, be cognizant of these things. We want as much public input as possible from all members of the public, all stakeholders. Please get the word out, as I'm sure you all have. Thank you.
Quick update on this, or
maybe it's not an update, it's probably the second for, let's see. So, IDEM was approached by the EPA, obviously a federal agency, and under the Clean Water Drinking Act that was passed in 2011, effective 2014. We're technically in non-compliant with lead content or pipes. So we adopt a 2006 version of the International Plumbing Code. There's been a change for certain pipes to go down from the wetted surface area from being at 8% lead content to 0.25, so obviously a factor of 32. We're working with EPA and IDEM right now because potentially, I think somewhere between $4 and $6 million for the state. EPA's first suggestion for us to change the code probably wouldn't work because we've got to kind of navigate the current code and kind of grandfathering it in, and then also accepting the fact that the international code does still accept some 8% average lead content in some areas. So we're working with EPA, we're working with IDEM to try and work it out in terms of what modifications we'll need to the code before we embark on the full code update process. And I think the plumbing code is up this year to be renewed, but EPA wants compliance before we can accomplish that. So within probably 6 months, we'll be bringing just an amendment to the 06 version of the code to come into compliance with federal, both statutory and rule that the EPA promulgates. And it is required in the CFR that state sovereign jurisdictions have to comply by updating their codes, and it's enforced at the state level. So we'll bring it to you. It should be a short update to a rule, very, very minor, but it will just allow certain pipes to remain at 8%, other pipes to be at 0.25%, and then it will grandfather it in. So we'll bring it to you guys. I'd say within the next 3 to 6 months, you'll see it, but it'll be short and sweet.
How does this impact come in when it's compliance with federal regulations?
So, I mean, in terms of the impact, we've been told, this isn't going to directly answer your question, but it's a roundabout way. We've been told by EPA that this mandate is a manufacturing standard. Therefore, some of these pipes aren't even available. So therefore the fiscal impact would almost be non-existent.
And they don't sell the stuff.
Do they not sell the 8% anymore?
It's like in your backflow preventer.
Yeah.
Everything water wise, they have,
So
all the manufacturers are sticking with the EPA.
the EPA, so the problem was, so they say pipes and fittings, and then they went to the new code and say water supply pipes and fittings, and then drinking water pipes and fittings. The supply side, which I'm not an expert on, can still be 8%, but I don't even know why you'd want to do it if it's the only one that's available. So it sounds like the fiscal impact would be very non-existent, but I think in terms of the fiscal impact, sure, it could be reviewed by OMB and then obviously the governor's office, but the impact would be greater considering the loss of funding to the government. So, but is it a consensus that the 8% pipes are not even available from most supply houses?
Actually, I'm not sure on the piping side.
Okay,
It's talking about all valving
okay,
has been changed because in the past it had lead in it.
okay. Then that'll probably that'll move it along. I might reach out to some of you guys for that portion of the regulatory development. Go ahead.
I was going to say it'll be an interesting discussion because to remind everybody, the commission set forward a plan for 2024, form committees for plumbing code, fuel gas code, mechanical code.
Yeah.
And there are some refrigerant issues with HVAC that have come up. And it sounds like maybe non-compliance by not updating code might have significant fiscal impact there as well.
Yeah, so sounds good. And there's the provision in 1575 for emergency situations, which it may qualify. So we can chat about that too. So it sounds like they're analogous situations. Yeah. Any questions? Probably 3 to 6 months, we'll see something from us because it just takes some time to get an answer back from EPA. So. Yeah.
doing the fire.
Let's try this again. All right, can anybody hear me now? Got it. All right, sorry, we had a motion in a second.
Aye.
Next up, we have 240330. Barbara.
Or online?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next up, we have 240445 Phoenix Courtland National Harvester.
Morning. Name's Jamie Tharp. I'm with Able. Able, we're at custom integrator security side of that. So it's a Phoenix harvester portion of that. Looking at the dual path communication fire alarm. This building was built. As it progressed, it's closing in 1984. still, again, the internet wasn't, get another 10 years before we get to that. So far as in a network to that system, right now, the one path is phone, right? But we have to have a network communicator for that dual path. To set up that basically in-house network, it requires fiber, a lot of pulling different things. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to make that second line. That building is primarily used for storage. He has a few places that he's trying to have little shops, but market small businesses that are starting businesses. So it's kind of where we're at. It's going to keep that one single line application. Is that wow.
On that, in our almost 10.
For Phoenix, I'm not sure on that. 10. They have several different machines.
I know that they're working at an item that finally that
As far as you got your approach, sure. I'm new to Havel Company, sales rep. So down there talking to these guys today. Yeah, send the sales guy to go talk, right? Instead of engineer that.
I see that we're excessive regarding the cost, but I don't see a cost estimate. Isn't that something?
No, we did not put one together yet at this point in time. I asked him yesterday before I give me just kind of visit. So
I would like to see. That's
okay, next month, absolutely. Second. Are we down here? That's right.
I know we stuck down here all day.
Maybe not.
Then a first and second to the table.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have 240452 10 Greenwood.
For Kent Greenwood or anyone online? Awesome.
Aye.
Next up, we have 240537 YMCA of Muncie, New Downtown YMCA.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Dennis Bradshaw, Bradshaw Consulting. This was tabled variance B last month so that I could revise the variance to specifically address some openings in a 1 hour graded wall. We had the issue where they're wanting to put in some non-rated storefront glass opening areas, initially thinking they could come up with a rated assembly because of the pool area and the atmosphere. They really were not able to find any appropriate rated assemblies. So what we're proposing is to provide additional closed space sprinklers to protect those non-rated openings. There is an attachment for a plan there that shows where these openings are on that second floor level. This doesn't change really any of the original variances that were granted. It's just specifically dealing with the openings in this 1 hour wall.
Doesn't this still change what we did initially? Right,
It
because
shouldn't, other than the openings. Instead of having a rated opening in the wall, we're having this modified opening that's protected by an alternative sprinkler protection.
isn't the first variance there trying to take out the sprinklers over the seating area? Yeah, because didn't we?
No,
Initially,
it
you said
isn't
we-
intended to do that. No, it would not do that. The original variance for that had the sprinklers over the seating, it would remain unchanged. That first variance that you're looking at there, that was denied. The first one was not granted. The second one was tabled so I could revise it. So we're just looking at the B variance.
Okay. Wouldn't you want the glass to be washed?
That's the intent of it, is to wash it. We're looking at providing them along the ceiling line there. So it should provide that washing of that glass assembly there.
Running fire protection, running heads along the wall and out every 6 feet is not necessarily washing the glass. Right?
Right, we would make it so that it's designed to spray, and wash down that assembly if that's what you're wanting to have done.
That's how I take it. How they have
Yeah.
non-fire glass wall can be protected by full space sprinklers.
I'm not a fire protection expert. But aren't the heads a little different when you're trying to wash a wall?
Correct. Those heads would have to spray toward the wall. Obviously, it would take a special head to be placed along that wall area there, or along that ceiling, so that it would spray onto that assembly. So,
Okay.
And that's your intent.
Yeah.
Dennis, that's your intent?
that's my intent there. If we need to put something in, the variance to say wash, something like that, that's fine. That was the intent of it all along.
And the sprinklers will be over the seating area, is that correct?
Yeah, the other
It's
variance
just the
that was
pool,
given
it's not-
requires sprinklers
Yeah.
over the seating area. Yes, that stays the same. That was the previous one.
Yeah, that was an A, which we were going to deny, and he withdrew it last week or last.
There's also the variance from
Right.
2020. They have not sprinkler over the pool, but they have to have a 1 hour separation.
Right. I'd make a motion to approve B as long as the heads are designed to spray on the wall.
Okay.
I would second that for you.
Have a first and a second to approve with the amendment to that?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, so that's the last of the table variances being heard this month. Do you want to start with new variances?
Yes.
First up is 240626, breaks for less.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, your variance is approved. Sorry, Dennis.
Finally.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Now we can move forward.
Yep. All right, do we have a proponent for 240626, Blue Ditch Breaks for Less, Indianapolis?
Anyone here for Rudy Breaks for Less? Or anyone online? Hearing none?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to speak. Dave.
Hello, I'm David Carpenter, Indianapolis Fire Department. We just would ask that they would be moving towards code compliant tire storage, which would include sprinklers and everything of that nature. But no objections to the 1 year.
Looks like this tent is not up right now.
Oh, it should be up. They have a variance.
Yeah, that,
Oh, they do.
Expires this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. The reason why we said this to you is because, yes, the previous variance 2312-23, they got it from October of 2022 through, or 23 through this year, October, and now they're coming back months in advance to get for a whole nother year.
Same-
We send this to
same.
you guys because it seems like this is going to be their continuing status.
so it's already been up for a year.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. It's been up for 1 year and they're
Yeah,
looking
they want another year, and we figured you guys look at this to determine if there should be a stopping point or a point where they're like, something permanent needs to be done or something else.
Mr. Carpenter, are they moving forward to the addition of a permanent building? Is that what they're looking to do, and they have the tenant for that reason?
Not to my awareness, but that's what we would hope. I was unaware that they had already had it up for a year. So I asked to deny this motion or this tent and have them move towards getting a code compliant tire storage.
Yeah, it's a tent. It's been up for a year. I mean,
With tires underneath it,
Yeah.
next to a building.
you ever try to put a tire fire out?
Yes, you have.
Under a tent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tent's gone.
It would be gone pretty quickly.
Yeah, the fact nobody's here to advocate for it, I'd make a motion to
I'm not sure it's actually up, but last time I had driven by, so I wonder if they never put it up.
But it sounds like it was up. I mean, they have the variance up.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they put it up? If they didn't?
I don't know.
It has been up, right? You're out in that neck of the woods.
I have not seen the site itself, recently. It's just, I'm going off of what the information provided.
It doesn't show.
They were here in the past to get this, to install it a year ago, keep it up for a year, so.
Yeah, because there's 5 conditions. It looks like the department might have approved it.
We did.
Yeah.
Just because usually I know with tents, and, we've seen these kind of things before, but them coming so far in advance for one that was granted through October of this year is just a little different.
Yeah, the whole tent thing came about during COVID where everybody was putting a tent up, they were all getting approved for that time being, but we no longer have that.
Well,
And I suspect this was for something different anyway, so. There's a motion to deny? Yeah. Correct?
Yeah.
Second. First and second to deny. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Has been denied.
Tell me, what's it not around here? I don't see much.
So how do we want to do the holiday farm variances? We want to tackle them all together or take them one by one?
Yeah, let's put them all together.
We want to do them all like now together or put them toward the end of the day?
He said, oh, no.
We're prepared to discuss them in the order you want them.
Well, I guess I would let, because we do have a number of those to come through. I think there's 5 or 6 different, and they're all pretty lengthy. So, yeah, so I would let the others speak first and let them get moving on their way for the rest of their day, because I think there's only about 4 or 5 others, or 5 or 6 others maybe.
And they're all.
I think there's 5 total.
Yeah, they're all, yeah, there's 5.
All right, so I think that brings us to 240630 LaSalle Road.
Which one?
LaSalle.
Oh, 6:30.
Good morning.
It's in the updated one.
Oh,
Printed copy. Good morning.
That was over.
there we go. Good morning. Am I present?
We hear you.
Yes.
Very good. All right. My name is Pat Lynch. I'm the submitting architect for this project for LaSalle Grill up here in South Bend. We are proposing a type 1 exhaust hood. We're replacing an existing hood actually. And one of the appliances hood is a solid fuel appliance, wood burning char grill. And it is our understanding from Captive Air, who is our vendor for the system, is that we need to use their new core system to be the fire suppression for this. And we decided to go ahead and use that core system across the entire 19-foot hood. We were flagged, I believe, because we do not comply with section 904.11, which requires that the fire suppression be a wet chemical or a dry chemical. This new core system, well, I don't know how new it is, but this core system from Captive Air is a water-only system. So we're asking for a variance to allow it. Captive Air has done extensive research to comply with the UL 300 standard to be safe, and they feel as good or maybe even better than the typical traditional Ansel chemical systems. So that's it in a nutshell, what we're trying to do. We do have representatives from Captive Air who are specialists in fire suppression, who are here to answer questions if there are any. We thank you for your attention and support.
And I'll introduce myself as well. I'm Brian Lyles with Captive Air. I'm the product specialist for all of our fire suppressant systems that we offer, and wanted to join as well to assist with, like Pat just said, with any questions that may come up. And also, if anyone would like, I can give a very brief, quick rundown of the core system, the background of it, how long we've had it, how long it's been in existence, where all it is accepted, et cetera. So any information that everyone would like, I am more than happy to jump in and give all the background information about the core system.
Yes, please, if you don't mind, just give us a quick rundown on it.
Okay, so a lot of people, I'll just give you a little bit of history too, that a lot of people don't know this about Mr. Luddy, which is the president and founder of Captive Air. He actually started his career before Captive Air in the fire suppressant industry with a company called Atlantic Fire over in the North Carolina East Coast area, and then started up Captive Air. And that's when, got into the kitchen ventilation system, used wet chemical systems for many years. And then you fast forward till about the mid 2000s, he wanted to upgrade just a standard UL 300 fire suppressant system, and that's when we developed Core. And we actually released Core in 2008. I've been a product specialist for Core and all of our fire systems now since March of 2009. So I've been with the product since pretty much day one. And what we wanted to do when we got into the fire suppressant industry was to upgrade all of the controls, get to electronic detection, electronic manual activation devices, to be able to monitor the systems as well. And also to get away from a finite system and be able to go in with an unlimited supply of fire suppressant agent. And that was the reason why we went in with water. And of course, before doing so and doing anything, we had to abide by all guidelines and meet UL 300 guidelines, testing requirements, et cetera, which also fall under NFPA 96 and 17A as well. And so we moved over to the water-based fire suppressant system so that we could get in with the unlimited supply of fire suppressant agent versus going in with a finite system, especially when it comes to solid fuel applications. With solid fuel applications, as we all know, it's not something that you can just go into and shut a gas valve off or trip a shunt trip breaker. That we also, if there is a fire that happens, then we have to go in and have enough agent to be able to suppress the source of the fire as well. And we are accepted. We have New York City's, we've met all of New York City's requirements. We've met all of California requirements as well. And, and we also have Core nationwide and across just about every jurisdiction in Indiana as well. And so that's kind of the background on it. Having the electronic detection gives us additional monitoring capabilities to be able to go in if the system is not going to operate as designed, then we can go in, trip the shunt trip breaker, trip the gas valve. And like I say, for solid fuel, it's also there to have the unlimited supply of fire suppressant agent in the event there is a fire with a source of fuel that can't just be turned off. And with it being water, we do have an unlimited supply of a fire suppressant agent. We also inject a agent called surfactant, which is just a low sudsing detergent, raises the pH level of the water to break down surface tension, which also aids in suppressing the fire. And for anyone that's not familiar with the Core system, and the whole water with with a grease fire application, that the reason why we're able to spray water on a grease fire is due to proper nozzle placement, proper flow pattern, and proper nozzle placement. And by doing all three of those combined, we're actually more aggressive in suppressing grease fires with water due to having the unlimited supply of fire suppressant agent. So that's kind of the rundown. And if anyone has any further questions on it, I'm happy to assist with those as well.
I think it was in action. Yeah, I don't have any issue with that. I would vote to approve.
Well, my concern was the grease fire.
Yeah.
The solid fuel, okay, it makes sense. But on the units on either side, if it was just over number 2, that's one thing, but they want to hook. So
yes, I've seen these. We got, actually, there's a couple of them. They put out a fine water mist. And it's just a non-endless supply, shuts all the equipment down, so. The first and second, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? You've been approved, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, next up, we have 240631 Vernon Beach new building.
Variance deals with the elimination of sprinkler systems. Code states that if you have foam, spray foam that the thickness ranges from 4 to 10 inches, the building is required to be sprinkled. And they are requesting to eliminate the sprinkler system.
Just as a reminder, if you have something to present to the commission, please email that to the variance or attach it to the variance. We can present it on the screen.
Apologize for that. Had several things come in last night fairly late. So this is kind of Tim Callis, J&T Consulting. This is something that's paramount to understanding the issues at hand. This is a brand new building. It is constructed. 5B construction, F1, S1, M. You can see we got a freezer, cooler, process area, retail, mechanical area. So the local building official cited this as the owner placed spray foam and which is 1.5 inches thick. If you see that on there, it's 1.5 inches close to spray foam. Then he applied 5 inches of expanded polystyrene 4x8 sheets. In aggregate, they're 5 inches in thickness. So the cell foam was only in the pink shaded area, which is the freezer and cooler area. Then on top of that is the polystyrene. So we'll have a 0-degree freezer, about a 32-degree cooler. This facility is going to be used for pet food. So right now what they have within the encapsulation process is just metal siding on the outside, 26 gauge steel lining on the inside, except for the process area. They have drywall, then applied to that is FRP up to 8 feet. Then the remaining 10 feet is just the 26 gauge steel. So the issue comes in when you have more than 4 inches of foam product. Chapter 26 requires you to sprinkle the building. Now, there are other standards that are listed for UL that provide exceptions to this that are pre-panelized, like coolers, like you see in a regular restaurant or something like that. So the issue comes in that none of this composite is got a UL listing to it. Individually, the flame spread and smoke development ratings for both products meets Chapter 26. It's below 450 and below 25. But again, Chapter 26 is looking for a UL or some type of assembly to do a national standard. So working with the owner and contractor here the past few months, we came down to using some intumescent paint in the freezer cooler area. We couldn't use it in the process area because that has to be washed down at the end of each process day, and the paint won't hold up to that. Since that discussion, they're discovering that maybe maintenance-wise, the intumescent paint will probably peel in the freezer cooler area. So what they're willing to do is actually remove the metal siding inside the 26 gauge, add drywall, and then come back and put in the 26 gauge steel panels again. The other alternative is just to put in an additional layer of the 26 gauge steel. There is unfortunately no product literature on what rating that might be, or just any type of meeting thermal barrier requirements, which is the index of 15. The drywall gives us that, but there's no testing for the steel. So I have the owner and contractor here for operational criteria. There's 8 to 10 employees for the building, and we did submit the hardship. They're out again. It's an Amish community, so they're out really out in a rural area. It's about $360,000 to drill the well and put in all the attachments to go with that to sprinkle the building. And I think the cost of the project around $450,000 to $500,000. But I do have letters I received late last night from non-code folks, but they're similar operations that are really for moral support. That Vernon is the owner is very comprehensively safety minded on all this, and he was just trying to find a way to build a new building and provide the pet food necessary for their operations, and unfortunately this
Spectrum is like that, so.
Y'all done?
Letter from the building commissioner.
From the building commission.
I'll start on there.
I think two.
As you can see, the spray foam is just in the cooler freezer, so the rest of the building has just got the polystyrene, which we see polystyrene on houses and, you know, for their substrate and that kind of thing, so.
Yeah, it is not flammable.
So
Like
question,
Irene is, I mean, it takes off.
question for those involved. I don't expect you to have the answer, but, you know, based on what the building commissioner has stated, seems like this project's been evolving, not following the plans, not following submitted documents. Why? Why are we not building to what we said we'd build?
Are you going to discuss the kind of the longevity of the project? So Vernon's the owner and Myron's the contractor.
So the question of why we're not building to code,
Why you're not building to what you submitted?
because state submittal, the installation does not specify on the state plans. And Vernon was wanting to be efficient and reduce freezer cooler. And I know it's, you know, to me, I did not realize we were getting into the foam code, being that we're over 4 inches. So we'd like to do what we can to rectify that, I guess.
I didn't realize there was anything wrong with the foam insulation. And the research I did on meat processing plants, the foam is by far superior. And when we're putting up a new building, I want to be as efficient as I can. So that was the go-to, and I didn't see any of this coming at us until towards the end when the building inspector asked about the over 4 inches thick. Then it hit us like a ton of bricks. So. And I guess where I got my information, I traveled a little bit to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And they actually have put up a brand new building, and they used spray foam for the whole cooler and freezer, 40 foot by 40 foot. And they actually have the spray foam exposed as of now. So he was really impressed with the efficiency of that. So using that, I went to Missouri, toured another couple of plants out there, and they're using spray foam and really like the efficiency. So, and I didn't realize this was any violation of it. I don't.
That's how, and we can't speak as to the adopted codes or enforcement in other states.
Right.
And so, and I understand, but that's where I got my information. That's why we did what we did.
On the expanded polystyrene, if it was only 4 inches thick, we wouldn't be here right now. Is that what I'm feeling here?
Less than 4 inches. It'll be less than 4 inches.
And what's the thickness we're at?
Well, if you look at your drawing.
5 inches.
Yeah, we got about 5 inches. So the walls around the cooler area and freezer area. The ceiling has 6 inches of polystyrene on a 26 gauge steel ceiling liner panel. Then you have then 5 inches of the expanded polystyrene around basically the whole building, including the interior walls there you can see in brown. Then the pink is the 1.5 inch closed cell spray foam that is also in addition to that. So you've got 6.5 inches of total foam in the cooler freezer area.
It is totally encapsulated. I mean, it's not exposed anywhere in the building. It's just that drywall accommodates the thermal barrier criteria, and we just don't have that within the building.
So Tim, you've looked into this probably fairly in depth. The spray foam insulation 4 to 10 inches thick requires the sprinkler. What happens after 10 inches?
Well, this chapter is, and that's the co-committee needs to look at this chapter because it's not really, it's very ambiguous in its rationale to start with. So the sprinklers come in as an exception because it starts out that says if you have a listed product, i.e. a sandwich panel that's built at a factory, complies with FM 4880, which is they got foam, spray foam inside the panel with the stainless steel liners, and they tell you how to put it together, and you build a cooler or freezer. And so that would be an exception, not the sprinkle, because you comply with the body of the text. But this is an exception. It says, okay, if you don't comply with this, then you sprinkle the building.
In lieu of sprinkling, what is any alternatives?
That's what we're trying to figure out. What can we do to the walls?
We've been fighting this for like, what, 3 months now?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what to do. Putting the drywall, like I said, putting the drywall and then putting the panel on top of that would give us our thermal barrier index of 15. So we'd accomplish that. But it's really the thickness is the driving issue here. I think if they want to outrate the exterior walls, which we, 5/8 drywall, both sides, give us a both sides, that would get us closer to encapsulating the product so it's not, not exposed.
Like you mentioned, we're out in the rural, so there's really no other buildings close by. If that makes any difference.
Really that setting the precedent. That's the bigger issue there.
Did you put in a gas and boiler system? It's called out on these prints.
Did we put what?
Is there a gas to the building?
There's LP gas to a water heater in the mechanical area, just for the hot water, just for the water.
It's hot water.
There's no hot water heat.
Okay.
That's the only gas is the water heater.
Mhm. And that room, the mechanical room, is lined with drywall and the seams are all fire taped. What you see as mechanical room. The retail area is entirely drywalled. And as he mentioned, the processing room, the exterior wall, we've got drywall with FRP exposed on the inside, 8 feet up, where we'll be doing most of our wash down. And the products going into the cooler and the freezer are going to be, it's going to compare to a food processing plant where we'll be doing raw meat, vegetables, that kind of thing, frozen and fresh.
Did you ever look at manufactured panels?
We did, and that's why we went this route, because it was much cheaper. And we're still using the same kind of product, the foam. So instead of spending all that money for these liner panels going 18-foot tall, it just made sense to go this route. But we didn't check into the fire code issue, and I didn't realize that was going to be an issue ever. And like I said, the reason that we got to this point is because I toured these other plants that did this and they loved it. So looking at what they enjoyed and the price, it just made sense to do this. And I didn't research state or local laws on that.
They encapsulated it, what did you say? You didn't have, so you didn't have an architect?
Yeah, so we talked to, Mark Bar.
Yeah, design.
Bar Designs.
Yeah.
Mhm. And evidently he just didn't catch it in time. So,
Well, I think the original, I might have the most outdated drawing, but I think the original drawing showed bad insulation, I think.
That's the state drawing, that's not.
Doesn't show it.
It just says insulated with exterior walls. It
Yeah,
doesn't specify.
It didn't specify what kind of insulation.
so that would definitely be what we're here for. How can we encapsulate what we've got to be safe?
And as typical rule, we don't get in the practice of designing. You come to with a design and we discuss whether or not it's going to mitigate the risk to life safety, but we don't take on the design ourselves.
Yeah, we even discussed taking everything apart, cutting the foam back to 3 7/8 or less than 4 inches. Talked to the building official, he was happy with that, but the problem is you gotta have that thickness for our value for the cooler and freezer area, or it kind of shows out the business plan for what they're trying to do here. Because most of the building is cold.
Hate to reject it, just sitting here, but my instinct is to reject it. But I'm like, I actually want to say you need to go back to an architect. You need to go to somebody who can give you the options and come forward with an option, instead of, because I appreciate trying to work out what to do in this committee, but we can't do that. And I would hate to even put forth an amendment of, to approve with some amending language. Because again, that's not our role. We do not want to do that and we can't do that. I mean, for me, I would be like either table it and come back, right? With something that works, that some professional has looked at, or in my mind, I'm like, I want to deny.
Yeah.
Because I can see how you got to this place, but this does set a bad precedent.
So you're saying that the drywall is not a good
It's
option?
not up to us to make that decision.
And the drywall, again, it takes care of the thermal variation. There's several sections of chapter 26. The issue comes down is that we have an unlisted thickness of foam inside the exterior walls in the cooler and freeze area. Specifically, chapter 26 says, well, if you don't have a listed panel, then you have to sprinkle it as an exception. That's the exception to that scoping section of that code.
If you're that far out in the country, you're not gonna
$360,000 for.
means, or even, you don't really get it feasibly, financially.
That still is, I mean, I get the financial concerns, but again, it's not our obligation to make a determination whether a project is feasible, right?
Correct. I'd recommend my clients to table this. Let's see if we can find some other, short of sprinkling and, because it gets denied, then we're done.
Yeah.
So the table keeps the door open for us to come back next month.
And get your building inspector on board, get some letter, something from an architect or engineer that this is a viable option. I mean, get more detail.
Yeah, I've been on the phone quite a bit with Jason Bogdan.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Yeah, I'm sure too.
He's been very workable in regards to, will this work with you? This is good, this good, this good. And that we kind of circle back and chase our tails quite often because it's the way that whole chapter is written. It's just, doesn't leave you very many options.
So you folks like the table for now?
Like the table?
I'd rather table than deny.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Motion, okay.
Second.
First and second. Table? Favor of? Yeah. Those opposed?
Maybe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take a 10-minute break.
Back in 10:15. All right.
And that's 61. The manufacturers, because everybody else changed, right? They've all changed to the luxury stuff. Sure. But we still like it.
Yes. I want to say one thing, that, holiday farm, those holiday farm variances, there are actually two. One for.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 of them for the pool, and we have 2.
Hold on, please. Caller calling from 317-406-6886. Can you please mute your microphone until such time as you're presenting?
All right, so there's two separate ones. One for the pool area and then one for the structure. So we'll hear the ones with the pool first and then the structure. But we were hearing all the others. Obviously, just because they're all kind of dealing with the one building. We'll wait till we get there. We'll be starting with 240633 Bloomington Readiness Center right now, and we'll finish the ones that are not the clubhouse, and then go back to that. Thank you.
All right, we got this one.
All right.
All right, this one, code requires fire protection for structural members less than 20 feet above the floor. This variance is allowed 18 feet above the floor to be non-rated construction in order to obtain the 2A construction.
Good morning, Dave Cook Consulting. What we have is an existing 1960s National Guard armory that we are doing an addition to, as well as doing some heavy remodeling and moving some rooms around. We have taken the full extent of the GAR and the building code to make this building work, except for one thing, and that's the fact that the existing steel in the drill room is at 18 feet versus 20 feet. How we got there is the existing building's all concrete and masonry. Has some steel columns, but we're taking care of those as well. And so inherently, the building is all 2A construction. So if you jump into the building code, well, first of all, the general administrative rules allows us to add on to a building as long as the new and the existing meet the allowable height and area per today's code. And so we jump up in the table to 2A and we use it. We actually solved it both ways. It works. We solve it with no use group separations. We can make it all A3 and it passes allowable area with the open yard. Also can do it the other way and do it with use group separations, and it passes by equaling 1. Now, what we also have, no different than schools, you add on to a school and you get a fire area that's larger than 12,000 square feet, you have to keep sprinklering up to the next fire area. We do those variances all the time, and one staff is approving that. In this particular situation, we've placed not 1 hour with firewalls, but 2 hour firewalls between 3 different fire areas, keeping everything less than 12,000 square feet. Which brings me back to, you've taken an existing building that is inherently 1 hour construction, except for the roof that's over the drill area. And we can talk about the drill area. There's really, they come in and drill over the weekends. Yeah, they might have some tables and chairs for dinners or luncheons, but the furniture is not, tables and chairs are not in there all the time, and there's not really that much fire loading. That's the only thing that's allowing us to proceed forward. Now, I know I've talked to Bobby LaRue, exchanged emails back and forth with him and fire departments here as well with some other concerns, but that's the basis of this. At this point in time, it's a matter that the existing roof assembly is at 18 feet versus the 20 that's required.
Concerns that I've got with this structure is this is currently is a 22,000 square feet building with no sprinkler system and no alarm. We're increasing that by 4,000 square feet to a 26,000 square foot building with no sprinkler and no alarm because they're not proposing that. And what I have always understood, you increase the size of your footprint of your building, you bring that building up to current code. This is got an A3 occupancy in it. It may be less than the 12,000 square feet, but it has an occupant load of over 900 people. And I have seen that building with that many people in it because it's not just used for drill. They rent this out to the public like most armories do. And they will hold dances and events in there. And I have seen this during Little Five weekend and graduation time where they'll have parties in there and it's full. So I think for public safety reasons, at least the A3 should have a sprinkler requirement to it because it might not have been required at the time of construction, but since we're modifying this building, I think it needs to be sprinkled now. I think we need to bring that into compliance. So.
Are we ever using this to house troops as barracks in any way, shape, or form?
Negative. Our tag policy, the general policy does not allow us to house troops to sleep overnight in our armories. This is my, I'm sorry. I'm with the Indiana National Guard. I'm the project manager for this project.
Mike Dakey.
No. You can't buy those.
If I may, the area that they're concerned about, the drill hall is in the existing part of the building. Building that's built in 1960 never needed to be sprinklered. What we're doing doesn't require it to be sprinklered. And we're putting up these separation walls. We also have, for you, we do have a list of rentals that have occurred over the last
5 years.
5 years, and none of them are over 150 individuals in there. There's.
That might have been what was listed.
Well, all I can do is go off the list that was given to us. Sure. He is right by occupant load. If you figure it at 115, we're at 460 people. If you want to do 7, which is not, might or might not happen, it's 985. We have 4 means of egress, and the egress capacity is 1020. All of that is existing, and really, again, according to the GAR, with us adding on, that's compliant. We don't have to touch it. But because we're trying to use the extent of the code in order to save on the building, which is over budget, we are using the benefit of the code and using every possible way to solve the problem. Another way to solve the problem, which we chose not to do, as I tell clients all the time, I can provide you all the solutions you want. You may not like some of the solutions that I provide you, but they are solutions to the code. And another solution that we could throw at it, again, it would not require sprinklers to anything, is we could just put up a 2 or 4 hour wall between the addition and the existing building, call it a day and move it on down the road. But we chose to take the inherent construction of the building, use it to our benefit, and with the limited loading that's in the drill hall, 20 feet, it's interesting. I was going back looking at the 1962 code. Back then, height was 25 feet. If you were 25 feet or higher, you wouldn't have to protect your steel. They've lowered that down to 20. And obviously that's through some fire testing and obviously some political stuff regarding in the code and some science. But 18 feet and 20 really is, in my mind, somewhat immaterial based upon what we have going on in the room.
One other comment is what Dave was saying there. The area that they need to have the variance for is the actual A3 occupancy. So I find it ironic that they're saying that we're adding to the B, but by adding to the B, we have to get a variance for the A3. So that's why I'm saying that they already know that the building is not going to be in compliance if they do not get this variance without a sprinkler system. If they get the sprinkler system, they don't have to have the variance because then they get the allowable area that they need. So I realize it's an expense, but it is, we are talking public safety. We're talking about safety of the troops. We're talking about safety of the public because it does get rented out. I would think it would be a priority. And once again, we're going back to the old adage. If Indiana can't follow their own codes, then why are we trying to enforce this on the public? I have a really hard time going in and telling somebody, you've got to follow this. And they come back and say, but the state don't have to. Because I run into this at IU all the time. So that's a real problem for me when the state can't follow their own rules.
Again, sprinklers are not required. That's an option for us to use. We chose not to do it because of the cost of that to do it. Regarding, the same comment came up regarding the voice communication system up at the state fair. And I heard that wasn't part of the project. But whether it's this project, whether it's a school project or any other state project, you can argue the fact that why can't the state follow it? And I guess I would ask the question, why can't the state take the advantage of what other people in the state are doing that everyone, I say the commission, because obviously you're approving it. Why can't the state, we do it all the time, the state gets variances in order to alleviate costs, no different than what I would consider their competitors do with the same topic outside in the public world in order to save the taxpayers money and get more for what their budget is holding. So that's my 2 cents worth on this. The state shouldn't have any variances, or the state should do.
I still think that Dave's saying that the sprinkler's not required. I've always been told you have the footprint of the building, you bring the whole building up to code. Unless you separate it by 2-hour fire wall. And they're not doing that. They're separating this into barriers. They're going to have different fire areas, but it's not a fire wall. So they're not creating separate buildings. So the whole building is being modified therefore. And that's where I'm coming up with the sprinkler requirement for an A3 occupancy.
What would be the cost to rate those floors?
Sorry,
What would be the cost to rate it?
to rate it,
Yeah. The bargeways.
$50,000 to $80,000 with cost and overhead with that.
What's the cost of sprinkler?
$275 to $300 is what my understanding was. And again, I'm standing here saying in order to help them with their budget, I'll stand here all day long. We do not need to sprinkle this building. I can come up with at least 2 solutions, one right before you, the other one as I presented. We could build a firewall between existing and new and not sprinkle that existing building at all. Whether we're going to go in and modify some rooms and stuff, but we are not changing the use of the building. And I've shown on the cover sheet where the architects actually worked the formula twice. We've added on, and in 2 different ways, we've proven allowable area is satisfied. I understand Tim's concern. But the room has more than enough exits. If it's used for anything, it's not used all for 7, and it's not used all at 15. So whatever that number is, we have twice as much exiting that room as what we need. Again, that room, sprinkling it is not the conversation in my mind, because it's existing.
What's your manpower at a typical garden?
The unit assigned that, the unit assigned there is just under 100, like 97 or 98, something like that.
How often do you have events with the public in there?
You know, like the rentals, Over the last 5 years, it's been 17 events.
How many, I'm just coming off the wall here. How many of those like facilities that were built back in the day are still considered an armory in the state of Indiana?
Majority of our 66 armories are from the 50s and 60s.
So this may be reoccurring in the future in the state. That's what I'm feeling. Because it may be.
You already modified, or you're in the process of modifying Columbus. You've done
Columbus,
Martinsville.
yes, Danville, Bluffton. Are the armories we've done so far.
We've worked diligent, as you can imagine, they're coming in, these buildings haven't really been touched. If you've been in National Guard already, haven't, like walking back into future, right? So they haven't really been touched. They're trying to bring them up over however many decades that is. And for various different additions and stuff, obviously that's why they have me. What options do we have here in order to save cost? Not that they don't want a sprinkler, because we're not burning down National Guard armories, because they're all built out of concrete.
Life safety.
Yeah, but we're not sleeping in there. And the people that are in drill room are all awake. All of them are about the same size room, and all of them have more than enough exit.
It's used as a temporary shelter.
If this was just being used for military uses, I would have a lot less hardware. It's those 17 events over the past 5 years with the public, people that don't have military bearing, doing whatever in there.
Yeah, you realize if the National Guard sold this and Mike Poppich, whatever company you would like, moves in here, and you use that event space for training your employees to work on HVAC equipments, and on the weekends, you let
With my
people
whole business model.
Right. Well, we can talk later about that. That would not be a change of use of the building, right? We'd be in the same situation. I have 4 distinct means of egress that have more than, hell, I think even your permit thing only allows 400 people in there, if I remember seeing that.
The carcass I did though.
Probably have 15.
It would be 7. Because like I said, the special events are always minimal chairs. They're usually dance floors. That's what I've seen.
What I saw on the paperwork that I had said, I think 440.
I walked in there before, Dave.
Okay, but when you divide 6,900 by 15, it come up with 460. So that number for their permit that they use must be based on 1 to 15, not 1 to 7. But my point is, Mike, even if you change ownership to this building, we do not need to sprinkler this. I understand.
I'm not asking you to sprinkler it. I'm saying that you're wanting us to wave a magic wand and make a 2B building a 2A building. And it sounds like there's paths to get you where you need without this magical 2As now 2B. I'm blessed.
And it's not magical. We're there. It's just this one thing. We're talking 2 feet, literally. We're talking literally 2 feet, which from a fire science standpoint, based upon the loading of the stuff that's in there, which is just tables and chairs that they put up, take down. Most of the time, it's probably not even full because it's just during drill weekend. Sure, it's these other groups that may come in, may have a banquet and have a table there with whatever. That's not significant loading to make 2 feet a difference with this building.
Well, where we stop?
Yeah.
You know, that it's not that you're 2 feet away. It's the code says 20 feet and above. So from 20 feet to 100,000 feet, you're good. But at 19, at 18, at 17, at 16, you know, where do we stop?
That's why I'm standing here, right? Have been other variances that have been approved for this, right? And so every situation is unique. That's why variances are bought, right? And in this particular situation, I am so close to having this building be 100% code compliant, except for 2 feet that I'm arguing from a science standpoint that there is not enough loading in here to create an issue that we cannot remove this fire protection from the steel. We're concerned about fire safety, right? And people in the room, okay? Everybody in that room will see what's happening, right? I have 4 means of egress and more than enough exits, however you want to cut it. And if I go on to a computer modeling system and using a fire that's similar to what this loading would be, everybody can get out of that building plus time, even at a handicap disability rate, leaving the room, they can all get out well before there's enough heat to start deteriorating the steel. And I can also make a pretty good bet the smoke won't even be down below 10 feet above the floor. So again, from a life safety standpoint, everybody's in the room, they see what's going on, right? It's not like in school where we have and discussed. In schools, we now allow people to stay in the school classroom for 3 minutes before they can leave the room. It's an option. But in this one, and you guys have granted, not all of you, but this commission has granted variances on assembly use rooms with twice as many exits as required and not to sprinkler the room. I'm not asking about sprinklers. I'm asking about fireproofing.
So. Great, Dave, is, so it's, yeah, yelling at these guys. Get over here a little bit, so yeah, so, all that. So there is no alarm system either, correct? A fire alarm system, smoke detection,
Not to my
pump
knowledge.
stations, horn strokes.
All of our buildings have fire alarms.
I'm not sure. I know our, because we had 2 armories in Fort Wayne. We only have 1 now. The other one's been torn down, but one that we had does have a fire alarm system in it. So I don't know. I would like to know if yours has a fire alarm system in it. And if there's horn strokes, pull stations in it, because I know ours does. So I don't think it's no. And then what is the 4,100 square feet addition? What is that being used for? I know that you say that you're adding 4,100 square feet to the building, but is that, I was just trying to see, but is it going to be, because it's not adding onto the A3 area, correct?
No,
Right?
it is not.
It's adding onto the B area, correct?
It's all this over here.
So it's all the office space.
All that's being kind of just reworked, but it's all this area over here.
Not going to be rented out, which, the new stuff? No, the
B area is for,
The B area is for their use. Over there is the drill hall. That's the room.
Yeah, almost exclusively, the only thing that ever gets rented in an armory is the drill hall.
So they go over there.
Yeah.
There's some assembly areas inside that B area. They're minor. A couple of them have exit issues within it. That I brought up on my plan review. That war room for one only has 1 exit out of it. It's got an occupant load over 50.
I can't see that well, but
If you pull it down a little bit. It's this area right up in here. Can hard to see there. Yeah, this area right in here. There's only 1 exit out of that. That's another area that I've got an issue with. That's not part of this variance. That's something they need to correct. So, and like I said, I was always under the understanding, if you add to the footprint of a building, you bring that building up to code. Dave's saying they only have to bring it up to size, area, and height. I was always told you bring the whole building up to code if you add to the footprint, unless you separate it by a 2-hour wall. Make it actually a separate building at that point.
Okay.
But
I don't know that I've read it that way.
that was a Morris Snyder.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember, because so if someone adds, we've had a number of these schools where they've added the security warriors, which now adds 400, 600, 800 square feet to the school, which now puts them over.
Yeah, the addition needs to be code compliant. The remainder of the structure cannot be put into non-compliance.
Correct.
And that's usually what we see is it goes over height and area because of that.
Correct. So it's typically it's just firewall where that would need to be sprinkled, not anything else, right?
Firewall.
Well, if it's not separated though.
That'd be a lot less than beer.
That would be less than
If it's not separated.
Well, it's a functional thing. If you want smoke detection, if the building doesn't have it, we'll put that in as well as the fire alarm system.
So looking at the photos that were submitted, I don't see any devices that would indicate a fire alarm system there. But that's just,
The other thing that we've offered too is instead of 1 hour fire barriers, we've provided 2 hour fire barriers and to break up these different areas. So I'd be happy to add smoke detection and a fire alarm system into the building.
So you do have a 2-hour
Fire barriers. Which some of them are kind of existing. All we have to do is change the door out. Yeah, I'm working with a tank.
I think it's helpful that you're offering something, because even though I don't remember us, since I've been here, right, approving something like this, the one we have, it's always been with, hey, we're gonna do X, Y, Z to improve the life safety situation. Not having any fire alarm in there, pull stations and all that for public events like that. I hear what you're saying, but you know, people get confused and run out the wrong direction and hide and do other things. And, you know, you just never know, especially if you don't hear an alarm, right? The public is just used to that. At the end of the day, I think if we were to approve, they've got to do other things to help with this. Because I know every single time we do this, that's what it comes down to. Even if it's an extra cost. Even, and by the way, if there's other things you can do to avoid coming in here for a variance, my personal opinion is go do those. Right? Even if it adds some more cost, because that's the cost of construction. It just is what it is. So I'm like, there are other things that can happen here.
What's your revenue used for? Your public revenue?
What does it get used for? Typical armory maintenance kind of stuff.
Yeah, cookout on July 4th. It's that cookout on July 4th.
So
And there's nothing wrong with it.
nobody spends the night at the armory now, right?
Correct.
Is there a kitchen? I can't see it that well. Is there a kitchen? I mean, is there something going on in there, whether it's the military or the rental?
There is cooking going on in the kitchen.
Warming kitchen?
As a full range.
I mean, I've been in several of them. That's I've always noticed the kitchen.
No repairs, just an oven.
Just an oven. So it's a warming kitchen.
Yeah.
There was a tornado that hit the area, right? And people needed someplace to stay. You would open this up, you'd open up that hall for people to sleep, right? I mean, you would, maybe not. I mean, state of Indiana, for goodness sakes, you know,
When
that.
I go on hurricane deployments in the south with areas totally destructed, there's a lot of time my FEMA team National Guard has mustered there for their people.
Could be.